Today we're going to turn some fractions into decimals, and I have 4 suggestions of how you could do this. There's one way you can do this that will always work. Does anybody have a thought on, here's 10 to start us, either already know an answer maybe, or you have a way you could figure this out. Does anybody know how you can take a fraction and turn it into a decimal?
Should I answer one of them?
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess 1/2 would be 0.5.
1/2 is 0.5. He already knows that, so good for him. That's going to be my plan B when I get off camera in a minute. We'll get over here when we turn a little bit. But my plan too is we're going to memorize some stuff, but we'll get there in a second. But yeah, 1/2 is 0.5. That's true. Sometimes you just know that, and that's, if you just know them, that's the quickest way to do it. I just know it. But we don't know all of these. Maybe. Does anybody know any other ones, or does anybody have a strategy in mind of how can you turn a fraction into a decimal? It's all right. I pointed. There's 2 of you in line. There's no one.
Would 1/3 be 0.3 or?
It isn't quite that. No. You have something.
I was gonna say 1/10. Would that just be 0.1?
1/10 is 0.1. We talked a lot yesterday about the tens place. The tens place is immediately after the decimal. So the bottom of 10 tells us to use the tens place. Since the top is 1, just throw a 1 in there. So that's true. Got that one down. Anybody else either know some more already or have a way we can create them if we don't know them?
Is 1/5 0.2?
1/5 is 0.2. How did you know that one?
I just realized that if 2 is 5, then it's basically kind of like a reverse thing. So to get that, I took 10. And to get 0.5, I took 10 divided by 2, and
Okay.
so I took 10 and I divided by 5.
Yeah. I think what he's saying is 1/5 is the same as 2/10. Like we've done reducing and name changer machine and stop using 2s. 1/5 is the same as 2/10 if we unreduce it. 2/10 is 0.2. He also said the magic word division. Division is involved in this process. Whenever we get eventually to the point where we're like, hey, this is how we can do this. Dividing is a step. Anybody else either know some or have a thought on how dividing can help us do any of this?
1/8, would that be 0.4?
It will not. Anybody else know any more or have a thought on how to do
This
this?
is a guess. Is 1/8 0.2?
It is not. No, 1/8 is going to be 3 digits long. Okay. So here's plan number 1. Plan number 1 is good because it always works. What we can always do is take any bottom and divide it into its top. If you have any fraction in the universe, you can put the top in the box, you can put the bottom outside and divide the bottom into the top. That's going to make you throw a decimal probably on the top. It's going to probably make you put a 0 on the top to enable you to divide, but set it up, bottom into the top, and we're going to look to divide. Depending on which teacher you had and which grade and who had what. I know last year's class was always talking about box the top is a thing they said. I don't know if that's a thing you heard, maybe you didn't have the same teacher. Box the top, is that a slogan? Okay. So different teachers, different styles, but that was their last year's slogan. They always talked about box the top. They would take the top number and just put it in there. That's not my slogan. I just figured I'd connect with you guys if that's a thing that your 6th grade book was talked about, but maybe that's a teacher thing. But if we want to do, let's do 1/4. So if I want to do 1/4, I'd go 4 out, I'd go 1 in, I'd stick a point, I'd stick a 0, decimal always goes straight up. So 4 and a 10, just yell. 2 gets me
2.
8 gets me
2.
2. Remainders we have to
Never.
throw a
0.
0. 4 and a 20,
5.
5. That goes evenly, so stop. 1/4 is 0.25. You probably knew that one now that you see it. Okay, a synonym in the English language for a fourth is a quarter. A fourth is a quarter. You play 1/4 of a game, you play it a quarter. You have 1/4 of a dollar in your pocket, you have a quarter. And quarters are 25 cents. So quarters are 25 cents. We got a little swapsy on this that you guys noticed. The 2 made a 5, the 5 made a 2. That's just coincidence, but that might help you memorize them because that is somewhere that we want to go. Let's do the 1/8. We had some people wanting to do the 1/8 and we were not doing it okay. If we want to do 1/8, who's out, who's in?
8.
8's out, 1's in. So 0.0, decimal straight up. The start would be 1 to get 8,
2,
2,
0,
0,
2,
2,
4,
16.
16 to get 4,
and then that's 0,
0,
5.
5. 1/8 is 0.125. Question about that so far? 1/3 is going to go a little weird. Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, whatever number it is on the top, we would just add a 0 to it. Or,
Yep. So 1/3. Out is 3, ends a 1. Stick a point, stick a 0, just to be able to have enough length to do that decimal straight up. So 3 and a 10,
3,
it's 3,
9,
9,
1,
1, 0,
3,
3.
9, 1, 0, 3.
Okay, and I'm getting bored with that, and so are you. Does anybody remember if it's gonna be 0.333333, and that's literally gonna go for all of eternity and never stop? Does anybody know or remember how to write that?
Where you put a dot after.
You could do a dot dot dot, but there's a more common, better thing to do than the dot dot dot. That wouldn't be bad. If you did 0.333 dot dot dot, I'd get that.
Would you put like a 3 and then up in like the little like corner next to the 3, like you put a tiny infinity symbol?
No. So I'm gonna put the point, I'm gonna put the 3, because that's the only other number we're ever gonna get. And then I'm gonna stick a bar on the top of it. What that bar on the top of that means is that's gonna repeat. It's gonna repeat forever. So that's the quickest way to write the 0.333333. That's just gonna happen. Let's go 1/6. So if we go 1/6, we're going
6 out
6 out,
and 1.0
1 in, 1.0,
1,
1,
6, 4, 0,
6,
36, 4, 6, 6,
another 6.
32.
oh my gosh.
So we're tired of doing that. So it's gonna go 0.1, and then a whole bunch of 6s are gonna happen. So to write that, I'm gonna do a 0.1, and I'm gonna do a 6. I'm gonna do the bar, but the bar should only go
On the
on the 6, because the 6 is the number that's coming. The 1 wasn't like that. So no bar on the 1, just the bar on the 6. Something like that. So let's go 1/9. So we go
9 out
9 out,
and 1.0
1.0 in,
1,
1.
9, 1, 0.
Okay. Do I need to go more, or do we get it?
Yeah.
What's it gonna do?
It's gonna go on
Infinity.
forever.
Forever. Who is?
9.
1. So how am I gonna write this?
0.1 bar line.
0.1, put a bar on it. Let me clear a little space to do the 1/11th. 1/11th is a little weird.
I don't think that's a little space.
It'll be bigger.
So I go 1, I go point, I go O, the decimal goes straight up.
That doesn't
Go.
work.
You add another 0.
I'll have to add another 0. Above this 0, I need to put
0.
0, because we aren't big enough yet with only 10 for 11 to handle that. But 11 can do 100
Yes.
with
9.
9. That gets us
99.
9, gets us
1, 0.
0, which makes us here
0.
0,
No.
0, which
Nine.
makes 9. So what's going to happen
We're gonna
here?
put a bar line over the whole thing.
Bar over the whole thing. What do you mean by the whole thing?
As in a bar line over 0 to the last 9.
Do we need all
9.
4 of those?
Oh, no, just 0 and 9.
0, 9. It's gonna go, when we do that, we're communicating, it's gonna go 09, 09, 09, 09, 09, and on we go. Question about that. 1/7. And now you'll understand why I just did all that erasing, because you criticized my erasing a minute ago, but
One.
I know what I was doing.
3, 3, 0, 4,
48. 2. 0.
2, 14, 6, 0.
Mamma ja.
8, 54,
56.
4.
0,
0.
3,
No, 5. 35.
5.
5. 0. 6. Oh, 7. 49.
1.
Stop. Okay, why can I stop?
Because
This is gonna go back to 1.
That's where I came in, okay? I came in with a 1, sooner or later, I had to eventually get another 1, and that finally happened. So I'm gonna get a decimal, and then all of that is gonna repeat. Woof. Okay, so here's the lesson. Dividing the bottom into the top will always work. Dividing is probably not your favorite thing to do. If you had to choose out of add, subtract, multiply, and divide, you'd probably choose divide last, okay? But that'll always work. So good news is it always works. Bad news, dividing, sometimes it can take a while before you get the repeat, and you've got to get the repeat. So I'm going to have 3 other tricks up my sleeve to save you some dividing. If you don't want to do any of these tricks, you don't have to. But if all you do is ever divide, some of the problems are going to get long. Okay, and I told you a slight untruth a minute ago. I am going to make you memorize some of these. I'm not going to make you memorize every fraction in the world, but we are going to memorize these 10. So here's a situation for tomorrow. Tomorrow there's going to be a quiz on these 10, and I'm going to give you a minute to do it, which means you have to memorize them. Okay, you won't have time to divide. If you took this one and divided, that probably took us a minute just to divide that one. We don't have time for that. Okay, but we are going to memorize these. Some people sometimes you're like, I can't memorize something that's 6 numbers long. You memorize your phone number. Like, you know your address. Okay, so humans are capable of memorizing things that are 1, 2, 3, 7, whatever, 10 digits long. We can do it. But let me give you some tips on this. I'll go through this nice and slow. And I'll fill these back in, but you want to jot these down somewhere. So ones that we already knew going in. A half was 0.5. You should just know that one. If you don't know that one, just learn it real quick. A half is 0.5. That's just a thing we should know. The tenths, we should know about using the tenths place already from other days. Tenths place was immediately after the decimal. So there's a 1. We should just know those 2 from life. I think we should also just know from life that a fourth is a quarter in money is 25 cents, a fourth quarter is 25 cents. I think everybody kind of knew those 3 going in. Then there's 4 of them that we can do by backwardsies. You notice that the 2 problem had a 5, the 5 problem had a 2. So we could do that one maybe with that little memory trick. The 2 gave us a 5, the 5 gave us a 2. They're like flipsies. The other one that was flipsies is sort of 9 gave you 11 and 11 gave you 9. Okay. 9 gave us 11, but that's a clue that that's a repeater, so we did the bar on that one. When 9 gave us 11, that involved a bar repeater. When 11 gave us 9, that was also a repeater, but it took up 2 spaces. But 9 gave us 11, 11 gave us 9. We can do those with backwardsy memorization stuff. Something about that little trick. There's 2 that just kind of look like what the problem looks like. 1/6 has 1/6. So that's not real challenging. You just have to remember where the bar went on that. Does anybody remember from a second ago?
Above the 6.
Just
not
the
the 1.
6, yeah. So 1/6 did 1 and 6. Just bar the 6 only. 1/3's the other one that just looks like what it is. 1/3 has a 3, but we also have to remember
Bar on
the
top.
bar on top of that. 1/7 was long, so it was 6 digits long. I'm gonna save that one. Well, I'll just do that one now while we're on topic. I usually talk to people in this one about football. If you're a football fan, it's gonna be easy. If you're not a football fan, sorry, it's a football reference, but you live in Pittsburgh, so you better just learn to deal with football if you're gonna stick around town, because Western Pennsylvania and football is just a thing. What does 7 have to do with football?
Lucky number.
That's a lucky number, but
A touchdown.
Touchdown usually gets you 7 points. I mean, I know there's an extra point involved, but generally touchdowns work a total of 7 by the time that's all said and done. So 1/7, maybe 7 reminds you of touchdowns. If you get 2 touchdowns, you got 14. If you match that again, another 2 touchdowns, 28. If you go another 2 touchdowns, you'd land on 56, but it's not 56 at the finish, it's 57. But 57, being a Pittsburgh native, should be a familiar number to you. What Pittsburgh thing is 57? If you don't know this, will teach you some Western Pennsylvania history that you should know
Is it
about.
how old Pennsylvania is?
No, it's Pennsylvania's like 250 years old and grown.
I think it might just be older than
It's close to 250. It's not quite 250. Maybe it is. I'm not sure. Ballpark it at 250 right now. It's a famous company. 57 is their number. Heinz. Heinz 57. Okay, so Heinz had 57 varieties or whatever. They had 57 varieties of. Every Heinz bottle has a big 57 printed on it. Their Heinz signs have big 57s on them. So the most famous company that's like born and existed in Pittsburgh for a long time was probably Heinz. But 57 is the Heinz number. The Steelers had to go and change us, but for a long time related to Steelers football and Heinz, they played at. No football fans in here. Heinz Field. So the name of their field was Heinz Field. There's PNC Park, there's Heinz Field. They changed it to Acrisure Stadium, which doesn't help me teach math anymore, but Heinz, at least there was a football reference in there for people. But 7, just go football touchdown numbers. 14s, 28s, Heinz 57 to finish, bar the whole thing. And then 1/8 is just an oddity. If you ever memorized your house number, just try to memorize 1/8 is 125. I don't have a way to do that. That's a very good trick. It just is what it is. I know my address. You probably know your address. If you don't know your address, ask your parents and have them teach you your address, because you really should know your address.
I know both of my old
I know how to
addresses.
memorize 8.
What do you got?
So 4 is 8 is double 4, and so you're basically just adding one more 4 to 4. So 125.
You could do that. You could also go, an 1/8 is half of a 4th. So if you tried to cut a 4th in half, the 2 cuts in half to a 1. The 5 part's kind of like a 50. I guess you could cut your 50 in half to 25. If you want to try to cut your 4th in half to make an 1/8, that could work. Question there. So clear it out. And let me grab a stopwatch and I'll just demonstrate for you what you're trying to do. Tomorrow I'll give you a paper. The paper's gonna be scrambled. The order will be scrambled, but even if the order is scrambled, you just can do them in whatever order you want to do them. It doesn't matter. But if we want to kind of do this, I won't like race through this. I'll just kind of like talk my way through it. A half we know is 0.5. The 10th was the 10th place. Fourths are quarters. Third looks like what it is, but it had a bar. 1/6 looked like what it is, but has a bar. Flipsies, 2 had 5, 5 had 2. 9 had 11, but repeat. 11 had 9, but 2 digits. The 8th we just talked about was 125 for whatever reason. And then football time, 14 for our 2 touchdowns. 2 more touchdowns is 28, and then famous Heinz 57. And my stopwatch malfunctioned. That's sad. but I feel very safe that was comfortably under a minute. I can run that back if you want me to, but if I wanted to try to like go fast, that's 14 seconds. So, you know, I'm giving you a minute. I would guess that first time when I kind of talked my way through it a little bit, that's probably like 30, 40 seconds. You know, but you have a minute. So what'll happen, I'll give you your paper. We'll go like face, no, we probably go face up. I'd have you write your name on it just to make sure your pencil tip or your pen like doesn't break or that it works and you have a valid thing. And then I'll say go, and we give you a minute. We'll say stop. Eventually, what we're going to do is get up to a point that we know 55 of these, which you might think is crazy, but it won't be. You might have thought it was crazy a minute ago to memorize 10 of them, and now you're thinking, hopefully, yeah, I can do that. If you learn these base 10, it's very easy to turn these 10 into 55 very quickly. Like, does anybody have a thought on 3/10? It'd be 0.3. 7/10 would be 0.7. You do that to all the tenths and all of a sudden you know a lot of those. Okay. What do you think 4/9 would be?
1.4 at the bar.
Close.
4 with the bar on top.
Just a 0.4 with the bar on it. 7/9 would be 0.7 with the bar on it. You know, et cetera, et so forth. So it'll be real easy. If you learn these 10, it'll be not that hard to turn that into like a lot of them because you know, we'll get into that tomorrow. Okay, but tonight what I'm asking you to do is memorize those 10. Question about always what's going to work is divide bottom into top if you're stuck, but memorizing it's going to be quicker and I'll start to ask that. Questions so far? Can you turn me?
Use the handle.
Plan 2 is just memorize them, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow, but today we've got 10, tomorrow we'll do more of that. I have a plan 3, okay? All of these I could do by dividing, okay? If I wanted to put 25 out, I want to put 3 in, put the point, put the O, dividing could make me able to do that. Does anybody have a different thing in mind that could help you do this? Anybody have a thought on something we could do other than divide? I'll tell you, something that you sometimes can do is the name changer machine to get a place value bottom. So 25 is not a place value, but if we upsize it, what can we turn 25 into that is a place value?
100.
100. We could turn 25 into 100 if we multiply by 4. And if you're going to multiply the bottom by 4, multiply the top by 4, and we'd be looking at 12. If we go to use the hundreds place, that fills 2 positions, so
0.12.
0.12. We could do that with 20. 20 can turn into
100.
100 if you multiply by
5.
5. So the top is
35.
35. So that answer?
0.7.
0.35. 50. 50 can turn into 100. Multiplying by
2.
2.
22.
Top is 22.
0.22.
0.22. But we can do that to a bunch of stuff. It's not always going to necessarily be 100. You could turn other stuff into 1,000. You know, if I told you we had 12 over 500, 500 you could better turn into 1,000 if you multiply by 2. Top is 24. Thousandths place is how many over?
3.
3. So get that 24
Out of 0.
out of 0. 24. Okay. But name changer machine can sometimes work. The only one over there we could have done with the name changer machine, we could have done the 4. 4 could turn into 100. 5 we sort of did that way. We turned 5 into 10. We had that conversation. That was basically this trick. 8 you could turn into 1,000. The other one's not so much. Here's another tidbit over there I forgot to mention. most of the bars come mostly from the odds. Just to help you notice that. The 11s have a bar, the 9s have a bar, the 7s had a bar. The exception is the 5s. The 5s don't, because the 5ths are really kind of in the same family as the 10ths. Like, they're just more together. The 3s had a bar. The oddball is the 6th. The 6th is like you're only even one of the first 10 that has a bar involved at all. So maybe that helps you keep straight when to bar, when not to bar. Most of the odds do, very few of the evens do. It's not a perfect pattern, but it's semi-helpful. Last thing I've got for you, a trick with zeros. So if I want to take a smaller fraction and make it like a crazy fraction, am I still fitting over here?
Yeah.
Am I good? Okay. So if I want to take one I already had and just make it bigger by me doing a trick with zeros, I'll give you a trick with zeros. So 3/25 we just did had a 0.12. If I go and do 3 over 25,000, I'm doing the same basic heart of a problem with the 3/25. If I throw in 3 zeros, what you do is go decimal, hit me with the 3 zeros, and then it's the same 12 that we had a minute ago. That only helps if it's a fraction you know. So if I said 14 over 1700, that trick only helps you if you know 14/17. We don't know 14/17, so that's not helpful right now. But if we knew 14/17, we could just sneak a couple zeros in there. So 7/20,000ths, we had 7/20ths, I still have 7/20ths. I put in 3 new zeros. Don't worry about 4 zeros, because this already
Zero.
had one. So I had 7/20ths, I tacked on 3 new zeros, so instead of this answer,
0, 0, 0, 35.
agreed. This one, I had 11/50ths a second ago. I just went a little crazy with zeros this time. So we're gonna go decimal.
0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Point, oh wait, no, 22.
Agreed. What did I do that he didn't tell me to do, but I just did it? It makes this more readable for all of us.
Use space, separate
Spaces.
3 zeros.
Just like in this, with my whole number, I did commas every 3 to make it a little more readable. When you're in the decimal world, you use little spaces every 3 to just make it a little bit more readable for the other units. But that's what we're about today. The homework tonight is going to ask you to turn fractions into decimals. If you're a person that does not like choices and options, and you just want to have somebody tell you, do this every time, I'll say divide bottom into top every time. Just it'll work every time. I cannot create a fraction you can't do that way. Do them all that way if that's the way you like to live. But if you like to do things quicker, if you're like, how's the quickest way to do this? Well, something that ends with zeros, I'd suggest the quickest way is ignore the zeros, do the base heart of the problem, and just sneak the zeros back in. If it's something that the name changer machine can make the bottoms be hundreds and thousands and stuff, do the name changer machine. I think it's quicker to multiply than it is to divide for most people. The quickest thing to do is just memorize them. Just memorize them up, and then you've got answers instant, instant, instant all over the place. And again, we're starting with those first 10 for our quiz tomorrow. Homework off of this, we are gonna work on,
Did we set double B yesterday?
no, that's what's coming today. We're gonna go and do the 171 letters. The 171 letters are gonna go A to M. Quick peek in your book and make sure you have a letter M. Letter M was created by me. Okay, the page didn't originally print a letter M. I had people write in a letter M. So make sure you have a letter M written in. We'll look at that in a minute. It should be 5/7.
Yep, I have
Yeah, I
it.
got it.
And then the main thing we're doing is in the back, it's BB. Some of the answers you already have. Like we already did 10 and wrote them down. That's gonna be some of the questions. Okay, other questions you're gonna have to divide, or other ones you might just be able to figure, like if you had to figure out 7/9, we could figure it out from knowing 1/9. If you can just figure it out, I would count that as part of memorizing. But divide when you have to, memorize is quicker, name changer machine if you wanna. The reason I penciled in an M was You saw me divide a seventh and it took a while, but like I managed that for you. I wanted you to do one of those yourself. So when you go to do that letter M, it is gonna be that long. It's gonna take any of the sevenths. It'll take you for 6 places until it like comes around again. So if you're dividing letter M for a while, you're like, how far does this go? It goes 6 places.